Good morning, everybody in the United States, and afternoon and evening elsewhere in the world. Thanks for joining us for this World Council of Credit Unions COVID-19 Response Committee webinar, Credit Union COVID-19 Communication Strategies and Best Practices. My name is Greg Newman, Director of Communications for World Council. Today, we're going to hear presentations from 3 credit union association professionals who will provide us very different perspectives on this topic. Kamon Kiattisirikumpon, Member Services Officer for the Asian Confederation of Credit Unions, will give us the perspective of how his large multinational credit union confederation handled communications for its members. Then Boaz Park, International Partnerships Manager for the National Credit Union Federation of Korea, will provide a point of view from a national credit union association. And finally, Tanya Dittberner, Director of Communications and Media Relations with the Cornerstone League, which represents credit unions in the U.S. states of Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, will give us the perspective of how a smaller regional association has handled communications during the pandemic. If you have any questions for our speakers, please feel free to use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and type them in there. We will ask them as time permits. And we are providing Spanish interpretation services for today's webinar. You can see that by clicking on the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen, the interpreter button. Tómese un momento para hacer clic en interpretación y elija su idioma, inglés o español. Also, today's webinar is being recorded. It's going to be available later today on the World Council YouTube channel. That's at youtube.com/woku. So we begin with our first presentation of the day, all the way from Bangkok. Kamon Kiattisirikumpon is the Member Services Officer for the Asian Confederation of Credit Unions, or ACCU. They are a regional credit union confederation and associate member of the World Council. And when we chose this topic, I thought of ACCU before any other organization because I was personally so impressed with the way they reached out to members virtually with training, education, and networking events throughout the pandemic. Kamon has more now on how ACCU ensured they were adding value to their members and for their members despite COVID-19. Kamon?
Okay, thank you, Greg, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me today. I'm going to show the presentation now. Okay.
Go ahead, Kamon.
Sorry, I have a little bit.
We can see it already, Kamon.
Okay. I need to show it. Okay. My name is Kamon Kiattisirikumpon, a member service officer of ACCU, and I'm very honored to be here today to share our experiences on communication with members in our network during the time of pandemic. ACCU is a regional body of the credit union in Asia, and we today represent 16 regular members, 13 affiliate members, and 185 primary cooperative supporter members from 23 countries in Asia. Our service covers the credit union promotion, leadership development, professionalization, quality assurance, and integration of credit union network. So as soon as the government imposed lockdown in Thailand, also many countries in Asia, we know that we cannot operate normally. ACCU cover 23 countries in Asia. We normally deliver our technical service in person, including the consultation and the training. And that would mean that traveling to different countries where our member organizations are located would not be possible anymore. So here is a thing that we did. The first, we assess the impact to our organization and member organization. So we immediately call for a meeting, a virtual meeting with our CEO of the National Association of Credit Unions on March 23rd, 2020. The purpose is to know the situation in their countries, the government restriction, and also to understand the steps they are taking. We try to ensure that a credit union will don't have any impact, and we try to give any consultation to them. So, and later on, we organize the CEO consultations monthly, And considering the vulnerability of the situation at that time, we also identify the risks in credit union where we are related to our revenues, which mostly coming from our training programs and conference. The good thing was active financial objective was to build our institutional capital to support our mission. And we had accumulated our fund during this past 50 years. AQ has more than 50% of our assets from the reserve to be able to provide our operation and our service to member even during this COVID time. In responses, we prepare a BCP or business continuity plan that addresses all the areas of operation, including the service to our members. This has been the guide for us during this pandemic. And we also, for the credit union, we developed the business solution that to help the member, which I will explain more later. In this slide and the next one will show our timeline of activity of AQ from March 2020 to April 2021. As you can see, contrary to the initial thought that AQ cannot provide the services to our member, we find that that time we have a lot of webinars and meetings and training programs that we immediately need to take the action to disseminate the solution that we develop and continue the regular training program toward the end of 2020. So in summary, AQ has organized 39 virtual webinars training programs attended by 1,640 credit union professionals from March to April this year. And some of the training programs are fee-based training, which our members are willing to pay for the registration fee to attend the program. Which is I would like to highlight that in every training when we organize, we will develop the tool and the manual and the template that will be ready used for our member to immediately implement and apply this tool into their operation and their policy in their organization. So when we organize the CEO meeting at that time, until now, we have not received any notification regarding the credit union failure due to the COVID, but we have found some sign of the stress in related to the member impact. We've identified the two main impact to the credit union. The first one is the slowing down in the lending, and also the next one is increase in saving. So with these two impacts, it will affect to the credit union in many ways, including the delinquency and also decrease of the revenue, also the impact to the financial cost of the credit union, also and meet the operation cost and the effect to the staff of the credit union, and also to this effect to the revenue and effect to the reserve of the credit union and the growth of the membership. In our recovery plan, we have divided into two parts, the short term and the mid term. The health crisis that our people experiences in March has led to financial and economic crisis and become social crisis to all of us. What AQ suggests to our members is to identify the possible impacts in credit union. They should concern on three levels. On the first level is the member ability to pay and that affect by the COVID-19. And the second level is the employee and the staff level that we know that it will affect in their confidence in the credit union institution and also their ability to provide the service due to the COVID-19 restriction. And the next one is the credit union impact, which related to the revenue, delinquency, and liquidity of the credit union, which is will affect in the long term of the credit union operation. So as we know well that the challenges and risks and experiences in the credit unions and our employees related to those in our members, then our recovery should be focused on the member, because we believe that if our member can survive or recover from this COVID, that means credit union will also recover. If they cannot, the credit union also cannot. So in our responses, so we build the member resilient. This is our main goal of ACU, that we try to ensure that our member organization to send this message to our member that that member is the most important goal, that, and they have to receive the help from the credit union. So you can see the responses on the green box, the light green box on the right side. So in here, we have 4 factors that are related to the member. The first one, we need to assist the member on how to change their lifestyle. They need to be educated and ensure that they are COVID free and have been healthy. And the next one, we need to ensure that our member have sound financial health. We ensure that the credit union should provide any guidance on business coaching and creating multiple income stream. And also the member should have received the help from the credit union to improve their human capital through increasing knowledge, skills, and network. And this we have 2 COVID-19 response strategies. The first one is credit union preparedness on health pandemic. In this strategy, we developed the business continuity plan template, which we accelerate it to deployment in the short time during that in March 2020. And we organized the TOT to the staff of the National Federation, which in turn trained to the staff of the primary credit union. We try to ensure that all the staff of our member will be able to apply this tool immediately. And the next strategy is to create the financial resilience for the member of the credit union. In this strategy, we have developed the personal financial plan template, which assign as our business solution. And this one, it will be like the tool for the member to monitor their financial viability and financial health. So the member can be ensure that they will have a very strong financial stability, and this will in turn affect back to the credit union in terms of low delinquency, higher revenue, and also increase of their relationship to the credit union. We organize the TOT on this tool to our the staff of the National Federation to ensure that they know how to apply this tool and be able to train to the member. And beside that, we also promote the business development services as a part of the lending process of the credit union, because we believe that as a part of the responsibility of the credit union, when they provide the loan or lending service, they should be able to provide the consultation on business development for the member, so that to ensure that member can know how to increase their quality of service or products and be able to create additional income generating activities. So this is a message that we try to ensure that all credit union will apply this. And this is a sample and a cover of all the tools that we have developed and we have trained to our members and also published to the primary credit union in our network. So this is the BCP, which will help to ensure that the credit union will be able to still provide the service even during the COVID time. For us as a cooperative, in case of COVID-19, we know that everyone is in the same boat and our members are affected. We believe that our cooperative exists for the members, and its purpose is in order to help the member during this crisis. So this is a time that we can prove that we are cooperative by helping the member get out of this adversity. If we keep our focus to the people which are members and employees, I do believe that this is will going to help to create a sustainability of the credit union network, and also to ensure that the cooperative will still continue in its true mission as a cooperative. And this is a message that we would like to express. The lesson we learned was still based on this statement. If we focus on our mission, we would never get lost. And ACU is very happy of the response of our members and credit union that ACU still be able to provide the value to them in strengthening the credit unions in Asia. Toward the end of 2020, we see ourselves running our regular programs. We have organized two virtual development education workshops where we certify 70 DEs. We had organized two batches of governance training where we introduced the tool for good governance assessment based on our 11 governance principles. We organized the Sister Society Conference and also including the Women HRD and Youth Workshop. And in coming this year, we also organized a virtual exposure program in the credit union, which we featuring with the primary credit union and within the member network. So this all activity that we try to reach out for the member to ensure that they will get our message. And at the beginning, our members were still feeling in-person training is better comparing with the COVID time. But today, they are getting used to this kind of learning, the virtual learnings, and we are striving hard to ensure that whatever training, business, or solution, or webinar, or any program that we provide, the purposely is to respond to the credit unions and members recovery from this pandemic. And this all the message that we try to send out. And that's end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Kamon, thank you. And like I said earlier, I noticed all of the times that you were putting out, and you can feel free to leave your camera on for a bit. I do have one question for you. I noticed that you definitely went out of your way to provide members with training, and I think people maybe in the United States, we're getting a lot of people vaccinated here. We're reopening, but I know a lot of your members in a lot of the countries that you represent, they're not close to being able to reopen yet. So how much longer will you be providing this type of COVID-19 training and COVID-19 messaging? I assume throughout the rest of this year at least.
Yes, sure. We plan at least within this year and also continue to next year, because now we are thinking that virtual learning also is another option for ACU to provide. Before COVID-19, we provide only in-person training or consultation, but we now realize that virtual training also is a one way that have a less cost and less time consuming for them. So it creates another channel and option to them to be able to reach to ACU and we be able to reach to them.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And if anybody has questions for Kamon, we can also ask them later in the presentation. Really appreciate it. Up next is Boaz Park. He is the International Partnerships Manager with the National Credit Union Federation of Korea. They are a direct member of the World Council. In fact, their president and CEO, Yoon-sik Kim, is also a World Council board member and the chair of our COVID-19 Response Committee, which is presenting today's webinar. Boaz has more now on how the National Credit Union Federation of Korea has stepped up its communication efforts during the crisis. Boaz, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Greg. Hello, good to see you all. I'm very honored to be here in front of our attendees today. Let me share my presentation file first. 보입니까? Okay. So I'm working for the National Credit Union Federation of Korea, and you might wonder why I am presenting communication strategies, because usually this is not my sector, but I was working in the PR and marketing team for my beginning period of my career here in National Credit Union Federation. So I think I can have some relevant knowledge about our strategy. And I had the communication with our PR and marketing team about our strategies before the presentation. So this is our contents for today. So I got 40 slides, so I think I should be a little bit going faster. Okay, who we are. So it is about a few numbers about our federation. So I don't read them all because I have limited time. And one thing I like to emphasize here today is that all the credit unions here in Korea, we are using the same corporate identity. So even if you are visiting Seoul or Busan or some other southern island, we are using the same brand. So the members can recognize wherever you are, this is the credit union. So this is our logo. To be honest, it's a little bit outdated. I've been asking our PR and marketing team manager to change our logo, but still the important thing here is that we are using the same logo, and please remember this brand because it'll be exposed to our TV commercials and TV drama PPLs. So our previous communication strategy was to give impression to our members or Koreans that credit union is the global financial institution. Even if you are working as a specimen or you're working for the government or working in the universities, they are using the credit unions. So we are trying to give a good impression to our members. But we had changed it. Even before the COVID-19, we are trying to change our concept of the marketing. And then all of a sudden, there was a huge disruption in 2020 with COVID-19. So there was lockdown, social distances, work from home, the family values. There's, of course, when you think of the COVID-19 and at this time, there might be some other sectors we can talk about with these all different ideas, such as what business sector would be good for our loan business, loan service, like multifamily or housing, senior housings. But at this time, I just like to focus on about our strategies about the communications. The lockdown and work from home, these led us to realize the family values because we are staying most of our time home and we spend a lot of time with our families. So we are thinking that to give good impression to our members and other customers, promising customers, we might be some object. I mean, we can give a good impression to our members that we can give the piggyback ride to our members, which means in Western culture, this is the image capture from the Googles in English and in Korean. So all of these pictures show you that piggyback ride means taking care of themselves, the others, especially your children. So we are thinking of this image to show our members that credit union is ready to help them and to take care of them. So the piggyback ride in Korean is obuba. The reason I'm telling you this is because in our TV commercials, these obuba sounds, it is like hook song. So you'll hear this all the time during our TV commercials. And 평생 어부바 means financial piggyback ride to credit union members for their lifetime. So let's see the TV commercial first.
힘든 사람 어부어부어부바 어려울 때 어부어부어부바 소중한 꿈 어부어부어부바 어부어부어부바 우린 신협 어부바
든든한 금융의 힘으로 따뜻한 협동의 힘으로 평생 어부바 신협.
And how do you like it? We have more than 11 million views in YouTube for this TV commercials. And this is the making film of the commercial. And this is our season 2 TV commercial. Look at this, please.
어부어부어부바 우린 신협 어부바 키워가요 어부어부어부바 무럭무럭 어부어부어부바 같이 쑥쑥 어부어부어부바 어부어부어부바 같이 가요 어부바
든든한 금융의 힘으로 따뜻한 협동의 힘으로 평생 어부바 신협.
So even one of a few of my friends, they told me that to send these TV commercials because their children really liked it. And with these TV commercials, we like to raise our brand awareness. This is one example of what we do for this brand awareness. It's in front of the Seoul train station, which is the central station of the Korean railroad system. So right over here, you can see the huge LCD panels, and we are with our TV commercials. And also there's a KTX, which is the express train for Koreans. We also have a few LCD panels inside the train, and our TV commercials also exposed to the customers of the KTX. And I took this picture last month in April when I visited Jeju International Airport. So we are not able to visit the other countries. So the domestic trip is a big hit over here, especially the Jeju Island. So we made a contract with the Jeju Airport agency, and there are some carts wrapped with our characters, just as you've seen over here before. And the bus wrapping, we are offering these vehicles to the local governments for free. So when the governments are using this shuttle bus for free, our brand character is exposed to the citizens. That's one of the strategies, and there are some hybrid strategies I'd like to emphasize today. The first one is the character products. Before I talk about the character products, we have credit union shopping mall for credit union members and credit unions. We are selling everything for the credit unions. For example, the AGM souvenirs or bank account book, ATMs, or business card. So anything you like to have for your credit union, you can find in our credit union shopping mall. This is another topic for the webinar, but still, I just like to show you some of the good products of the character products, tote bag, and even over here in the back, the primary credit union name is printable. And the stuffed animal of our little tiny cute piggy babies, and the mood light and ball pens, luggage name tag, the facial mask and hot pack. And also the other important strategy is the TV dramas. So Netflix is becoming more important in our COVID period because we are not able to visit the theaters, and people are prefer to stay home. So they decided to choose a Netflix or some other programs for their leisure time. So there's a Korean drama named The Hospital Playlist. It is the top TV shows on Netflix, especially last year. It's ranked #1 for the top TV shows on Netflix in South Korea in 2020. So what is it with the credit union? We sponsored this TV drama series. So during the episode, regularly, our credit union is appearing inside the drama. And so for example, over here, one of the main character is visiting the primary credit union, which is existing inside the hospital. We do have a few employees hospital credit union here in Korea. So this main character is getting the stuffed animal for a gift. And also when those characters are trying to make a conversation, our ATMs is appeared in the back. So I just like to show you some of the videos over here. This video is, I just like to ask your permission for this. Probably this webinar will be played later in the YouTube, but these videos are not available. So this is just for those attendees. This is not the only drama we are sponsoring. There are some other TV drama series we are collaborating, Familiar Wife or Adorable Daughters, and some other dramas. So it gives a good opportunity for us to join for more brand awareness to our Koreans. And also the last issue I'd like to share with you today is about the KT Wizard and the ballpark. So the baseball is one of the famous, most favorite pastime here for Koreans. And KBO is like the American Major League Baseball. And among 10 professional teams, we chose KT Wizard for our marketing strategies. So as you can see over here, if you see the red circle, our logo is appearing in the jersey patch on the right chest. But the reason I brought this topic today is about the character. So our character is working together with their mascot. And also there's a ballpark club lounge inside the ballpark. I mean, this is not only for the CU members. Even the ordinary person, they can visit, and if they pay more, they can use this lounge with a better view. But point here is that still the credit union is appeared for those who are visiting the stadiums or ballpark. So this is the end of my presentation today. Thank you for listening. Have any question? Don't hesitate to tell me. Thank you.
Thank you, Boaz.
Just one more thing. I just,
Yes, go ahead.
all right. I just, can you see me? 보여? So this is the piggy bank I broadcast to show you what it is like. And another stuffed animal, just like this. Yeah. So if you visit Korea, I can give you this later.
We
Thank you.
can't actually see you, Boaz. There you go.
All right.
So let's show us one more time.
All right. So this is the piggy bank, as you can see. And the real stuffed animal, I brought this over here like this. They have the magnet and they can stick together.
That's great.
That's it. Thank you.
Well, Boaz, stay on camera with me a bit. I think I speak for everybody in attendance when I say wow, and we're pretty blown away by everything from the videos to the product placement. You know, really inventive, really a commitment to the branding. One of the questions we have from the panelists, or excuse me, from the attendees, Sarah asked, did your credit unions always share the same branding? And if not, how did you get them all on the same page? How did you get them all to embrace that, to embrace having the same branding?
Oh, you know, it'll take another 20 minutes to talk about this issue, but we just persuade them to use the same brand logo from the beginning starting period. So it was available because we just like to have the same financial institution strategy. So we asked our primaries, and it took a little bit longer time, but anyhow, we made it, yes.
Interesting. And do you feel like there's been, throughout the pandemic, and I know South Korea, you said it's just started vaccinating the elderly, was what you were telling me previous to us starting the webinar today. Do you feel like the messaging of what the credit union difference is has gotten through during the pandemic, just through all of the different media that you've done?
Well, yes, I believe so. Yes, I think it worked, and I think it has given more good impressions to our societies. Yes.
Okay. Well, again, thanks so much, and really impressed and blown away by some of the stuff that NACIFOC is doing these days. And that's going to bring us actually to our last but not least presenter of the day. We're going to hear now from Tanya Dittberner. She is the Director of Communications and Media Relations at the Cornerstone League. The Cornerstone League represents credit unions in Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas here in the United States. Tanya started her job at Cornerstone League actually about a month before the pandemic was declared, and immediately stepped up to serve as its crisis communications spokesperson, leading all COVID-19 pandemic communications and media inquiries. And she's here to tell us how she directed that effort. Tanya, talk about getting thrown right into the fire.
Yes, I had learned a new phrase actually when I started. I had never heard the phrase baptism by fire, but that's what was thrown around a lot. So it was quite an experience. So thank you all for having me today. Before I go into our pandemic communications response, I want to talk a little bit about Cornerstone League. Cornerstone League serves approximately 400 credit unions across a 3-state region, as Greg mentioned, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. The services we provide include advocacy and political engagement, regulatory and compliance support, engagement programs such as our chapters and councils programs that provide networking and opportunities for our members to share best practices with one another, as well as a multitude of experiences and events and communications and outreach. Our wholly owned subsidiary is Cornerstone Resources, and it is our league service corporation. It provides business solutions for credit unions, and we utilize a proven thorough vetting process to engage in partnerships with industry service providers, which in turn provide significant opportunities to our members. Cornerstone Foundation is the 501c3 public charity for Cornerstone League. It operates on 3 initiatives, which include financial capability, credit union development, and disaster relief. So when the coronavirus pandemic was declared, like many businesses, we took immediate action to ensure business continuity and fortify our communications initiatives. During this turbulent time, we recognized that members would be turning to our employees first for guidance. So our first step was to focus on employee education. We developed messaging on next steps, what resources and services were available, and formed a task force, a pandemic response committee. Our strategy was to educate and empower Cornerstone employees to continue to act as our members' trusted advisors. The Pandemic Response Committee met daily for the first 8 weeks of the pandemic. We discussed major immediate shifts in the business, strategies, and tactical solutions to not only help our members survive this time, but thrive. We also focused on employee engagement, utilizing our internal platforms such as email, intranet, talking points, and a bi-monthly informal virtual meeting led by our president and CEO, Caroline Willard. We found that staying connected as an organization helped provide a strong and unified front, as well as strengthened our internal culture as an organization. As we educated and empowered our employees, we got busy in developing resources for our members. We took inventory of our value proposition, strengthened it, and then promoted it through our various platforms. Our strategy here was to strengthen Cornerstone's value proposition and public perception by providing timely, relevant, and critical information. We knew our members would have a lot of questions and needed a centralized location to obtain information when they needed it. One of the first resources we created was a COVID-19 resources page on our website. It was launched in March of 2020. And this page contains a wide array of information, including frequently asked questions, regulatory guidance, news stories, and helpful articles. Today, the page continues to be updated and continues to receive visitors. Because our members were receiving a large amount of information at that time in the beginning of the pandemic, we wanted to ensure that the information we passed along was relevant, useful, and pertinent. We revised and updated our external communications pieces. We paused and even decommissioned the pieces that weren't relevant to the narrative at that time. We took into consideration public perception of our organization and what our members wanted and needed from us at that time. We also took into consideration how our members wanted to receive information from us. In the last year, we adopted a digital platform called Saros to help tell Cornerstone's story. We also decided to not print our quarterly magazine and published entirely online, knowing that much of our readership was not likely in the office to receive it. Resources we developed included pandemic-specific member communications, such as a weekly newsletter we called the Pandemic Leaguer, and promotional emails inviting members to weekly roundtable discussions with our internal subject matter experts. To summarize some best practices, we considered our audience's needs and expectations of our organization. We asked ourselves, what do they need to hear from us in this very moment? What do they want to hear from us? As communicators, we tried to strike a balance between meeting our audience's expectations of us while also advancing our mission. We found it was also important to zoom out and do an honest assessment of our communications platforms and pieces. This included legacy publications, which we looked at not just for content, but also frequency and the audience who receives this information, and we adjusted as needed. The final piece of our communication strategy was focused on member outreach. The strategy behind our member outreach activities was to leverage stories, data, and our communications platforms to position Cornerstone as a thought leader within the credit union space. Now that we were equipped with educated staff and resources, it was time to deploy this information to our members. As residents within the Cornerstone region lived under stay-at-home orders and self-quarantine, a universal need for connection was uncovered. We combated that with positive stories to encourage a sense of community and optimism. Our members may have lost that in-person connection to their communities, but they didn't lose their connection to Cornerstone. We were sure to drive that concept home with them. Storytelling was our tool for maintaining that connection. In the early days of the pandemic, there was a lot of legislation enacted very quickly. One part of legislation that our advocacy team worked diligently to solidify was to determine the essential status of credit unions. This led to the creation of our Credit Unions Are Essential video, which thanked our credit union members for their tireless and incredible service to their communities. You can see the video on our COVID-19 resources page, available on cornerstoneleague.coop. Another exercise we participated in was developing member personas, which helped our marketing and communications team gain visibility into who our members are, what motivates them, their level of education, technology proficiency, and so on. These experimental insights help inform our marketing and communication strategies. Positioning Cornerstone as an industry thought leader is a priority for our organization and was especially important to us during the pandemic, or the early days. We leveraged our various platforms and created new ones to amplify our subject matter experts' voices. We were quick to decommission our weekly pandemic leaguer when the constant barrage of pandemic-related news slowed down. We absorbed pandemic-related news and stories into our main weekly publication, The Leaguer, and launched a new publication called Caroline's Corner. Written as an exclusive CEO-focused publication in our CEO's voice, Caroline's Corner keeps member CEOs up to date on topics such as our advocacy efforts on their behalf, legislation affecting credit unions, and other Cornerstone and industry news. I'd also like to add that this is our most popular publication with an average of a 43% open rate. Additionally, we focused and continue to focus on our efforts on securing earned media placement in trade publications and local news sites, as well as podcast appearances. In the early fall, we published a report that detailed Cornerstone's pandemic-related activities. Our Pandemic Response Impact Report contains statistics, stories, and case studies, reminding our members of our member value proposition. The coronavirus pandemic revealed just how human we all are. Our team recognized a need for connection in our audience, and we leveraged stories to do just that. Incorporating storytelling into our communication strategy resonated with our audience because we went beyond titles and organization names and focused on universal aspects of our membership for a wider appeal. When it comes to positioning oneself as an authority, I have a quick story to tell. I was talking with my friend who at age 13 or 14 had immigrated from China to an area in South Texas that didn't experience a lot of immigration from overseas. I asked him how he adjusted socially in a new country with new people at such a tender age, and his answer was simple. He said, "I acted like I was cool, and eventually everyone believed me." His positive approach in what could have been a challenging social adjustment resulted in him becoming a basketball star, making a lot of friends, and making good grades, all because he took charge of his personal brand and positioned himself as someone who was cool. Organizations can learn from that approach. Position yourself as an authority, and if done correctly, your audience will follow. And finally, we learned that leveraging data and summarizing our activities in an annual report was impactful because it reminded our members of our value proposition. It's one thing to serve our members and our communities every day. It's another thing to summarize all of those accomplishments throughout the year and package it into a report. At the end of the day, numbers tell the greatest story. It's been my pleasure talking with you today. If you have any questions or would like to continue this conversation, please feel free to reach out to me at the contact information you see on the screen.
Thanks a lot, Tanya. You know, it's interesting because you mentioned going away from printed publications because nobody was in the office. And I returned to the office for the first time a couple of weeks ago, for the first time in 14 months. And I really expected my inbox to just be flooded with everything that I had missed, but it really wasn't. And I think a lot of other organizations followed your lead, and we did the same thing as well. But I think a lot of organizations decided it just didn't make sense to do printed materials. And do you think that's going to be the case going forward for Cornerstone? Because I think it will be for World Council and others to just say people are used to getting this virtually now.
It's kind of a mixed bag because there are a lot of people who really do enjoy receiving something tangible, right? We don't quite have that stigma or that fear of receiving something and wiping it down. A lot of times, I mean, I still remember wiping down groceries and vegetables.
Yep.
Clorox wipes and stuff like that in the early days. So there's that, but then there's also on the other side of it, there's a major cost savings in not printing. So I think we're going to take a hybrid approach.
We do have one question. It's from Dima with the Canadian Credit Union Association, actually, one of our members. She asked a question of you, did you use external communication tactics as part of your plan and specifically around social media? And if so, what was your strategy?
We didn't, the way we utilized social media, so we have a lot of pages, right? Because we have, our organization is very complex and we have a lot of facets to it. Part of our social media strategy was to really lean on our smaller groups. A large part of our membership consists of smaller credit unions, and we have quite an active page on Facebook for those smaller credit unions. And so we just engaged with them a little bit more. So social media was a part of it. Email, I would say, and our web communications were probably took precedence over social media.
I have another question here. How many savings? This is a question for Boaz, actually. We're going to kind of open up the floor here because we've got a lot of people who still have questions for all of our speakers. So Boaz, we have a question from Luis, and he asks, how many savings and credit and financial cooperatives and associates are there in Korea?
So regarding the credit unions, we have 872 credit unions, but we are not the only financial institution, the type of cooperatives. So there are other cooperatives for in the form of the agricultural cooperatives or fishery cooperatives. So we are very competitive. Yes.
And did those cooperatives, did they also provide financial services for their members?
They do, yes. So we have a fierce competition here, yes.
And Kamon, is that the way it is throughout much of Asia? You're muted, Kamon.
Sorry, Greg. Yes.
Okay.
Can I have a question again?
Sure. There was Boaz made the point that while they have 872 credit unions, they aren't the only financial cooperatives in Korea. And I wondered if it's similar in most Asian countries, because he mentioned that there were agricultural cooperatives, fishery cooperatives that provide financial services. Is that the case in a lot of Asian countries?
Yes, there are some like fisheries and agriculture cooperative that also provide, but the major is the financial cooperative, is credit union and the credit cooperative that actively provide financial service to the members in Asia.
And I do want to ask you one other question, Kamon. I saw that, well, I saw you're typing an answer right now, but we did have a question from Don in Nepal saying Nepal is badly suffering a second wave of COVID-19 and third wave has now also arrived. The people specifically from marginalized areas in the economy are suffering badly. What credit union supports are there for them?
Actually, this is what right after we have found the COVID impact in Nepal and in Asia during March, we have a CEO meeting, and that time the CEO of our member, the Nepal Federation of Credit Cooperative and the National Bank Cooperative of Nepal has reported that they immediately launching the relief fund to the credit union to help to support and provide emergency loan to their member. Besides that, they also provide the humanitarian assistance such as the food parcel, the sanitization mask, and also the alcohol and any other supports.
We appreciate everybody joining us today. We're coming up on the top of the hour, and I know everybody's time is valuable. So thank you so much for joining us. Again, today's webinar was recorded. It will be available later today on the World Council YouTube channel at youtube.com/woku. Again, that's youtube.com/woku. And if you are looking to continue learning about credit union topics ranging from communications like we had today to digitization, advocacy, and more, We want to remind you to be sure to register for the World Credit Union Conference. It's going to be taking place virtually this year, starting July 14th through the 21st. Again, the World Credit Union Conference. You can register at wcuc.org, wcuc.org, and we hope to see you there. Thanks for joining us today, everybody.